back, dear viewers. You're still watching The Breakfast Show live on Nile TV International. It's now time for a second topic of discussion for today, and we're still shedding the light on the ramifications and the repercussions of the Russia-Ukraine crisis. And to shed more light on this, we're most delighted to be joined over the phone by Ambassador Hussein Hareidi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Ambassador, a very good morning, and thank you so much for joining us on The Breakfast Show.
Good morning, sir. It's my pleasure.
The pleasure is all ours, sir. Ambassador Hareidi, first of all, why do you think Russia is moving so aggressively against Ukraine currently?
Well, I guess this is what we call in international relations power politics. The Russians have had several demands that were handed in writing to the Americans and to NATO last December. And they set out in these demands what are the red lines as far as their national security is concerned. One of the demands, and this is the non-compliance of this demand, or the ambiguous reply of the West, triggered what we've been witnessing from yesterday morning. This demand is that countries bordering Russian frontiers should not become members of NATO. And from December till 2 days ago, the Western position and the position of the Americans as far as this demand is concerned were really ambiguous. And what we are witnessing today is some kind of rectification of the European security architecture after the fall of the Berlin Wall. The West miscalculated and thought that Russia is out of the equation of European security and the international security situation. Now the Russians have sent a very strong signal, a very forceful message that they must be counted when it comes to European security. And as some European leaders said, in fact, we cannot dissociate European security from Russian security. So what comes next, or how this will come to an end, is that a pan-European conference that would include Russia and that would set the terms of European security for many decades to come. Otherwise, Europe will be always threatened by such actions.
Ambassador, why do you think that the United States is or has been so actively engaged in this crisis, and of course calling on for sanctions against Russia, and also the statements and the remarks made by U.S. President Joe Biden describing what is happening as a flagrant violation?
Well, the Americans in general, and more particularly the Biden administration, has made it clear that, strategically speaking, the main adversary of the United States is China. And as a matter of fact, ever since President Biden entered the Oval Office in January 2021, and all the measures taken by the Biden administration were geared or have been geared to that objective. As far as Russian relations are concerned, there was a summit between President Biden and President Putin last June in person in Geneva. And in this summit, they agreed on what they called, on what the two sides termed strategic stability dialogue between Moscow and Washington. Now, and I guess, 2 rounds of discussions, 2 rounds of talks in this context took place. And now we have to think about what be the next American moves as far as Russia is concerned. Well, the Americans are trying or have been trying to marshal, to mobilize NATO countries, member countries, and the European Union in one front. Maybe yesterday, going over the official statements by the leaders of these two blocs, we have a sense of unity. But I'm afraid this unity won't last, because the sanctions that were adopted yesterday and the sanctions before that won't lead anywhere. And they won't deter Russia from ensuring that no one would threaten its borders in the future. So the quicker NATO, the European Union, the Biden administration comes to this realization, the sooner the conflict in Ukraine will come to an end.
So, in your opinion, Ambassador, these sanctions imposed would deter Vladimir Putin from his move towards Ukraine?
No, I don't think so. According to Western experts, and according to President Biden yesterday in his televised address to the American public and to the world, the Western experts said these sanctions are double-edged, and sanctions that were imposed on Russia in 2014 did not prevent Russia from using the use of force. So, I guess, and in his speech yesterday, in his address yesterday, the American president said that he acknowledged indirectly, implicitly, that the sanctions that they have adopted vis-a-vis Russia would harm the interests of American companies and European companies. And let's not forget that 40% of natural gas that Europe consumes is exported by Russia. And the experts have come to the conclusion that no one source or various sources could make up for the Russian natural gas to Europe in case, and this is highly improbable at the present moment, in case Russia takes retaliatory actions against the American adopted sanctions yesterday and cut the supply or lower or decrease the amount of natural gas, of Russian natural gas exported to Europe. That would wreak havoc on European households and on the European economies.
Ambassador, also as an expert, do you see a solution coming soon in sight?
Well, let's wait. Let's wait and see how the situation in Ukraine, how it would develop in the very near future, in the next week or so. But what I'm sure about is the European security, relations between Russia and Europe, relations between Russia and NATO, relations between Russia and Washington and the United States won't be the same after the Russian military operations in Ukraine.
Ambassador, as we're wrapping up, I'd like to also listen to your closing remarks on this very sensitive and fluid topic.
I beg pardon?
I was asking for your closing remarks as we're wrapping up.
Well, I'm thinking of Egypt, and I'm thinking of the Middle East, and we have, as far as Egypt and Arab countries are concerned, they have to draw their own conclusions from what we are witnessing now in Ukraine and in Europe and between NATO and Russia.
Ambassador Hussein Hareidi, former Assistant Foreign Minister, we really appreciate your insight as always, and thank you so much for being with us on The Breakfast Show. And dear viewers, by this we wrap up today's episode of The Breakfast Show. You were in the company of myself, Kareem Jamaluddin, and my colleague Dina Hussein. And until we meet again, this is goodbye.